very happy that you are saying that, but what you are reading there is essentially document. And these are the arguments that we arrived at the Germans. In fact, what Germans promised us was that they were what you are calling, they don't call it, they said those who are in prison, 25 were in prison. Those ones they were going to send back. There was no compromise on them. And we agreed. But apart from that, Mr. Wu was there. We prevailed upon them to keep the rest, whether they are documented or not documented. I told them that their best contribution to what was happening in the Gambia was to train those people and give them skills. And those in the agricultural sector, since it was not throughout the year, when the season is over, they could be allowed to come back to the Gambia. When the season begins, they can go back to Germany again and work in the agricultural sector. We are living on all this with Germans. But what is surprising me, that the effort that we have made in this committee, honestly, if they were backed by the executive, Your Excellency, I promise you that no Gambian will leave the German territory. Wallahi, no Gambian will leave the German territory. I followed this matter. The foreign minister would because the last meeting I had with the president was him, the Secretary General, and myself on this issue. I didn't go to the president once, twice, 3 times on this issue because the Germans made it very clear to us that if there was no reaction from the Gambia, they would back everybody. And no one will convince me that they cannot do that. They can do it. Because Germany is a sovereign territory, they have the right. You are packing Gambians here and sending them out. You are packing, I've seen that here. They pack non-Gambians here and send them out. Until I went to the Minister of Interior at one time, that was Mr. 𝐓𝐴𝐶. I said, and coincidentally, Tal was the ambassador in Dhaka. That same day his letter came and was telling them that what they were doing was wrong. And I went there to say exactly the same thing until I proposed to him that I would conduct a workshop for your people and sensitize on this protocol on the free movement of people assigned by ECOWAS. He agreed. I went to Nigeria. By the time I came, I don't know what happened. He was dismissed. I don't know why he was dismissed, but he was dismissed. He wasn't there. So, but the problem is, let me say this. German can send Gambians and they will do it if there is no positive reaction from this country. There is no doubt about that. Me, I'm convinced of that because there is no ministry we have not had discussion with in Germany. And there is no political party head that we have not discussion with them. But they all agree with what we have done. And that's why I'm very positively sure that if our efforts were backed by the executive, not apart from the 25 who were in prison, nobody would have left Germany. But because you are telling me as if nothing has happened. If it is now that the Vice President is having knowledge of this document, yes, I see it's tragic.
And I ask for it.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, thank you very much, Chair. Your Excellency Vice President, Honorable Ministers. I think the lapses are now identified. And then I think we also appreciate our concern. What we need now is action. We are really concerned about the plight of these Gambians who are there, and then action needs to be done. Now you have agreed to gather your act. You will want action, as the Vice President said, and the soonest the better. Yes. Let us come with a position as a country, but let us agree. I think the report spelled it out very clearly. Yes. Those that they consider, and it's good to also distinguish the crimes, the misdemeanors and the crimes that are a menace to society. We can accept those back. But for those the others who are there, it's better we have arrangements that they can be kept there, trained. If they are really interested in our democracy, our fledgling democracy, to support our process here, to make sure that there is stability in our country, there is peace, to promote democracy, it's better that they support those Gambians who are already there. Because in 2018, I personally undertook a tour to Europe, and when I came back, I reported to the Honorable Minister of the Foreign Affairs what I did. I went to 7 countries, and basically it was to look at the situation of the migrants who are there. I've been to Milan, to Germany, Italy, in Milan. It was horrible. Over 100 young people sleeping in the streets, those harsh weather conditions. And the position that I was promoting, in fact, that's what is reflected in the report, that those governments who are there, let them be trained. Let them be trained, acquire skills, and I'm telling you, if they are trained and they acquire these skills, they will not be returned, because they won't allow them to be returned. They will find preoccupations for them. I think this is the position. This is the language that both of us are speaking, the legislature and the executive, that let us engage. So it's better that we engage. So the sooner, the better. Yes, the sooner, the better.
Your Excellency.
Good morning, Honorable Chair, Honorable National Assembly members, Honorable Ministers, Permanent Secretaries, with all other protocols respectfully observed. We are very pleased to be here today to come and respond or to answer to the call that you made in regards to the issue of the Gambian immigrants in Germany. And to first of all put it into context that the invitations that you have given us that resulted in the postponement of those meetings was as a result of the exigency of service. We know that this is a very important issue to us and a concern, but because letters came in on our times when the key actors were not present, and it was prudent and also mutually agreed that we should postpone them until we are able to get the presence of all the relevant ministers and sectors to come and join me to be able to respond and address this thing collectively. So on that note, I wish to apologize for those delays, because it was not meant for delays, but it was the circumstances surrounding the engagements of our ministers. Today we are here, and I am very pleased to say that we have all the key actors that are needed to move on with this process. And I want to thank all of them for having time. All of them arrived yesterday, and last night we had to call them. You can see the importance that is attached to this. With regards to the issues that you have raised, I think we are lucky we have the Minister for Interior here today. We also have the Minister for Foreign Affairs and their permanent technical team. And I am aware of the fact that some time ago you went to Germany as a result of a networking partnership that brought both of you together. And we knew that there were discussions that took place. I want to just put on record that when you came back, I didn't know that you visited the President, which was a good thing, so that he knows, because he gives it a very important focus. But also to say that we did not receive any report in my office to know what was the report of your visit and the purpose of your visit. That would have helped us to be able to engage constructively. So I will urge you to assist us to have access to those things, because if you don't have the information, you cannot act on it. And I believe, I cannot speak for the ministries, but as the National Coordination Mechanism on Migration, I have all the sectors that are there, and when a report comes, we share it there. I am not aware of that, and I did not see it. It did not come to my attention. So therefore, we could not have acted upon it. Now that there is this constructive engagement with the various sectors that are there, I want you to understand that we are all committed to this, and we are going to look at it and address it strategically, and to thank you also for the efforts you have done for coming out with what I have heard. The concession that they have given us as Gambia, and the fact that you are able to engage the parliamentarians to come up with that is indeed a great achievement, and I want to thank you on behalf of our President and on my own behalf for the great work that you have done on that. In that light, I would like to throw the question to the relevant institutions to be able to respond accordingly. Thank you.
But before that, let me just say this. I'm surprised that you are not being informed about it, because when I met the President, and the document that you asked me to prepare, he said it was meant for the cabinet. And I remember very well. That was Monday, Tuesday. Wednesday, the chief protocol phoned me. He said, the cabinet is meeting. If your document is ready, and Billy left immediately with the document to the presidency, and he submitted it. And I'm sure that the document was submitted to the cabinet. As a result, the president even had a task force created for this purpose. They came here, we had a meeting. I think the foreign minister can say something about all this because he knows that. And they came here, we had a discussion, and I'm surprised that the vice president didn't know anything because they are the custodians of the document before the ministry. They have the document.
Okay, that's fine. We are here today to just clarify and find a path that will help us to act this out and let things happen. We will try to respond as much as possible and make sure that we put up a clear line of action that needs to be done for us to be engaged constructively to help our people out there and also to fulfill our responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay.
Good morning, Excellency the Vice President.
You wanted me to respond or?
Yeah.
Both of them, we will all respond. Let him talk first.
Excellency the Vice President, the Chair, all members of Parliament here present. I want to put myself in line with the Vice President's statement that as far as we are concerned, we have not received any report regarding your visit. I'm aware of your visit, but we have not received any report. What we had was a cooperation with EU and as a bloc, not Germany as a country. And this cooperation starts in 2017 between the government of the Gambia and the EU. There then certain good practices were identified in the repatriation or return process. The number and magnitude at that time was never established as far as Gambia is concerned, that these are the number of Gambians in the diaspora or in Europe who had failed in their asylum applications. However, we as a team, there was a technical team established comprised of all stakeholders in the country who, after some consultation, agreed on certain procedures or modalities that EU and the Gambia could consider in the repatriation processes. And one of these modalities is Gambia to receive notification of or information regarding the would-be returnees. This is to help the Gambia to prepare for reception, because we are trying to avoid excessive reception capacity. 2, Gambia also has to conduct some verifications on the would-be returnees to establish their nationality, knowing fully well that some nationals has dubiously acquired Gambian documents and they file applications in the name of Gambia. And also for Gambia to provide emergency travel certificate to the would-be returnees to facilitate their returns. And also EU for our returnees to establish that our returnees have exhausted all the legal means, and they are definitely to be returned. One of the fifth agreement is that the modality on reintegration of the returnees into our communities. And finally, to periodically or intermittently review those modalities. This leads to this is found in the good practice document that was signed in 2017 for the implementation. But at the time of signing that agreement, it was not established that we have this number of Gambian would-be returnees in Europe. So the technical committee further met, and then because of certain constraints, because then they were deporting people in small numbers, and this was never noticed. But when they started bringing large numbers of Gambians home, it's obvious that there will be public outcry. And then we advised the technical team to look at the good practice document and come up with a operational conclusion on it. In the operational conclusion, some areas were identified, and this includes the potential vulnerability and medical needs of the would-be returned, and also whether the person that they are to be deported has any criminal records. This is just to know the type of person that the returnee is, and then be sure of his behavior, because we have instances when the returnee is returned and then they had problems with their family members. One instance in Brikama, when the returnee killed the father. So we want to know their aggressiveness or other behaviors, so that at least we can, for public safety. And also evidence that they have exhausted all legal means. This information requested provisions were advanced, as lack of this information impairs a proper integration process here. The good practice document provides, among other things, EU to ensure coordination return operations from EU member states to avoid exceeding the receiving capability. To also have a suitable migration resource and response center where all returnees can be temporarily housed while it's being processed for the reintegration. EU to support the Gambia government in establishing strategic communication on migration management. EU also to implement various projects in the Gambia with a view or intended to create job opportunities for Gambians, as well as provide reintegration assistance to returnees, including forced returnees. EU to explore with its member states and international partners how to further improve Gambia's preparedness and capacity for disembarkation process of returnees at the airport. It is important to note that though EU has made tremendous efforts in implementing these obligations, there are still challenges, and the challenges are as follows that we encounter. Avoiding excessive reception capacity, one. excessive reception capacity, exceeding reception capacity. We realized that the number of repatriation, the number of returnees per repatriation in the recent past has tremendously increased. And also, in addition, no provision of pertinent information, particularly vulnerability and medical needs of the returnees, as well as criminal history, if any, were given to us.
Sorry, Honorable Minister. Yes, you are referring to the good practices argument, legal good practices. We know it. But that is not the issue. The issue here is what is happening to the 25 Gambians that were forced deported to this country, and the second 25 Gambians who came after. Where are they, and what is happening to them, or what is being done for them? That is the question. We know this committee has a problem with the EU good practices, but that's not the issue here. But the issue is, we want to look in practical terms, what is government doing right now? What has government done for the reception of the 25 Gambians who were sent back, and the second 25 that were sent back? And what is the state of the other Gambians who are still in Germany pending to be deported? That if you can just dilate on that, that would be very helpful.
Yes, they are all integrated, and they are with their respective families.
Okay.
With regards to the remaining, that was what I wanted to explain, because when we realized that they all are coming from Germany, because the agreement was on the respect of EU bloc. And EU, instead of distributing them, the number, they concentrated only on Germany. And for us, it's not even safe, because would-be returnees could, group together and then and be out in the street to at least go against whatever the conditions that they are put on. So that was the reason why we decided, we were advised by our technical team to put a moratorium on the deportation. And this is what happened exactly. And from the last 20, because instead of 20, last one is 20 instead of 25. Yes, because probably there must be change in circumstances of the other 5. But it was 20. So when we placed in the moratorium on the deportation, that's where we are now, as of now.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Your Excellency, Madam Vice President, Honorable Chair of this committee. I'm happy that you intervene, because we are not talking here about the good practice document. The questions are very specific. When it comes to the first 25, that was a condition that was laid by the Germans to start supporting us. They came. The other 20 that came, we did not know how they came in, because the mission in Brussels covering Germany was not aware of it. We just heard it. I think I heard it from you here. So we did not know how they came into the country. And where they are, to be quite honest, as far as we are concerned, we do not know. And I'm also, maybe it's been a long time, that's why they do not remember. But that document that formed the basis of our discussion was based on your visit to Germany. And that was extensively shared with all the group. I have it. It's been a long time, maybe that's why they might have forgotten it. And in fact, that's why I called Bob, who was part of the delegation, to come, and Jafune, and they used to attend meeting at the office of the Vice President with all the stakeholders. All our discussions were based on that. But it's been a very, very long time. As far as the discussion on migration is concerned, we have to make a difference between the good practice document and the bilateral arrangement with Germany. And there we have to speak with one voice. I think that's very important. And that's why when the 20 came, to be quite honest, if we were speaking with one voice, we would all have been in the picture. But that did not happen. And to my surprise also, I saw that even an agreement was entered between Baden-Württemberg and the Ministry of Interior. I don't know whether you saw that. I have the document. I can dig it.
Who was the minister?
Hmm?
Who was the minister?
Who?
Who was the minister?
You were the minister. Yeah, I have the. No, it was not signed by you, but I've seen that document. So the most important thing for us to resolve this issue is to be able to speak with one voice. That's very, very important. And Germany, even if they have our Gambians, they cannot deport them. There are international law and treaties that they have to respect. That's why they are negotiating with us. And we almost understand also that all this discussion is fueled by the movement of the populace in Europe, who want to make people believe that all their problems are coming from the migrants, which is not true actually. And they want to transfer some of their political problems here, and sometimes you will see them going, talking to the press, saying things just to please their electorates. We've just seen it recently, and sometimes we do not respond. But this is something, even in Germany, what the language that the Development Cooperation Ministry is speaking is completely different from the Ministry of Interior. And I think we are basically on the same line with the Ministry of Development Cooperation. As far as the good practice document is concerned, we've written to the European Union to invite them to have a discussion, to review it, because it's everything but not a good practice document. I think that was signed under duress, and that we need to look at it carefully, and they are open to it. And Germany, when they are talking about deportation, it's not the EU, because they are all not speaking with one voice. Some have told us sometimes, where you remember when the former EU delegate was here, he will come and talk to us about deportation. But all the ambassadors will come and tell you that this is not the United States of Europe. And EU is not the one directing the foreign policy of the European Union. We are sovereign state, we have to take out it. If he's speaking on his behalf, not on behalf of member states. So that too, we have to be very careful. Germany, you have a huge number of Gambians here, and I think we need to re-engage them. But COVID came and no one could move around. We need to sit and discuss with them and to find a solution. Because we cannot also continue to deny the fact that these are Gambians, we will not accept them. It's our duty to accept them. It's our responsibility to accept them. And they have a responsibility also to support us, because when these people were going, they did not go as criminals. Some of them became criminals in Europe. So they should help us integrate them. And what they call criminals also, not all of them are criminals, because even if you commit a traffic offense, they can classify you as criminal. That too, we have to be very careful. The hardcore criminals, they have to work with the Ministry of Interior, give them the necessary support. If we have that support, we are to welcome them. But we need to sit with them. But to be quite honest, the second bite that came, I don't know, 20, I heard about it here. I don't know how they came, who gave them the papers, because the embassy is not, for certain I know that the embassy did not give them a travel document. So we need to go to the bottom of that to know where did they get those travel documents to be able to come to the Gambia. Because Germany also does not have the right to take people, bundle them and put them on a plane and bring them here. That's all I have to say for the time being. And Boob is here. Boob, correct me if I'm wrong. After your visit, the document that you were using when you were having meeting with the stakeholders, which document were you using to discuss with the stakeholders?
Okay, thank you very much, Minister and members of the Assembly. Now, the documents that we are using, I would say, based on the report that we wrote when we came back from Germany, because I remember when we engaged the German authorities, we expressed concerns that if there is to be a massive deportation of Gambians, that would definitely trigger some kind of a social unrest. So the agreement that we had with them, the German was that there is not going to be any massive deportation of Gambians, but then they are ready to work with us. And that is contingent upon us accepting the 25 Gambians that are so-called criminals. Okay. Now, the condition that we gave them, and correct me if I'm wrong, was most of these Gambians are averse to returning home. But what they are saying is those who have a clean slate, those who haven't committed any crime, we want to see how we can work with the German government for them to be given the opportunity of being
sorry to cut you short. What we want to know, did you share that document with the committee?
Yes.
Our committee?
No, not only this committee, with the government committees, because you are part of that committee.
We shared with the team that went with us from the National Assembly, and also the Office of the Vice President, and also the Office of the Vice.
But not the Minister of Interior.
No, but you are part of that.
No. The committee doesn't receive any focal person for that committee. And
the Ministry of Interior, if my memory serves me well, we did send you a copy, but I can check our records.
No, don't worry. We'll check the records. And the other thing,
you discuss on it. Discuss on the report.
You
report on the report without, even if you have sent it, that I'm not quite sure. But when the discussions on the area recommendations, the Ministry of Interior, who is a stakeholder to this, should have been informed and should be part of that discussion. And we are never informed. He is the focal person there.
May I just come here?
Just before you come, Your Excellency, now I've also been informed that for the travel document, how they travel, you have immigration liaison officers stationed in Germany and Italy who are issuing travel documents without the mission knowledge. That also we have to go on record for it.
There used to be engagement.
So I think that is coming now.
Sorry, where is that information coming from, Honorable Minister?
They just informed me.
I saw it in our files. This was in 2019. I think there was some kind of an agreement between Interior and Baden-Württemberg. But then I later found out from our mission in Brussels that 2 officials from the immigration department have been stationed somewhere in, issuing travel documents. So I even engaged the German Chargé d'Affaires, and I said, this is not a normal practice, because from my experience, it is the embassy that should issue travel documents. So how has it happened? And he couldn't explain anything. I personally told him, I think to some extent, I'm sorry, but I think you have tricked the government into doing it, but this is not right. This is not right diplomacy. So that has to be corrected, because it is the embassy that's the issue to travel document and not any
and later on, I remember, because I remember when this issue came to my table, we realized that they went there through an arrangement with the immigration department through the Frontex program. So as you rightly put it, they were tricked and sent people there, and they were issuing travel documents without the knowledge of the embassy under their jurisdiction.
Yes,
so if I may come in, with regards to your trip to this place, to German, with the National Assembly members, okay, in fact, when the issue came, we realized that Foreign Affairs is going with the National Assembly. And I put this, came up with the point that, but I think the Ministry of Interior is very key in this. If Foreign Affairs is going, obviously the Ministry of Interior should be part of that team. But that has never happened. So when the people came, the report was stretched. But as a ministry, and I'm the former part of my administration, I have never seen the report regarding your visit to this place. When as a technical working, technical NCM technical, we also met but the report did not come to NCM technical. And I could remember you maybe proposed to meet the NCM, but like since the NCM was not part of it, he said, okay, let the you come to the National Assembly, discuss the matter, because the guys, they came from German and they wanted to meet the NCM. He said, we are not aware of this trip. At the same time also, we don't see the report. It's better you go to the National the team that has gone to the National Assembly and the team that has gone to discuss with them. Maybe later, you'll be called by the National Assembly or what they come and join with them, and then you can see what happens to discuss the report. But that has never happened to my knowledge. Okay. I'm sorry, with the issue of the body book that you were talking about, like the Ministry of Interior signed maybe a memorandum or whatsoever with them. I never knew about it, and this is the first time I'm hearing it. And probably maybe it could be between maybe immigration and them, but not the ministry. This one is the point, but we are not obviously we are not aware of that.
Thank you. Can I have one, please?
I need you to clarify that.
Thank you very much. I think Honorable Chair.
No,
you are the chair.
Yes, I am the chair. That's why I am addressing the chair, Honorable Chair. Now, this is something that we have to discuss in a way that is going to be very professional. We are not here to put blames on each other. It's not right. It is that approach. We all know where we are coming from, and we know how institutions have not been doing their jobs properly. We also have inherited a very difficult situation. Documentation was a problem. We have to accept that. And we have a clear task of having to respond to these things, and it becomes a very challenging and daunting issue, especially on matters like this, where it just comes to our table, and we have the whole world and the global order is determining how people are getting in terms of this migration phenomenon, and Gambia cannot be left behind. One thing that is first that we have to agree is that communication is not very good among the various sectors, and we have to accept that. We have to acknowledge some of our weaknesses in order to be able to do the right thing and address the things in a way that will create synergy. All these issues that you are discussing, the Ministry of Interior has a very key role to play there. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has a very key role to play there. They are the conduits through which everything is going to go. As the Office of the Vice President, our coordinating role is to make sure that we create synergy between all the sectors that have some implication with regards to this, and we are doing that very well. I'm not blowing my trumpet. What is happening is that when it comes to travel, people tend to hijack it and do what they want, and don't follow the due processes. And because we don't follow the due processes, when the time of accountability comes, it becomes problematic. People try to be on the offensive, on the defensive. This is what is happening. Now that you have called us, and I'm very pleased with this, I think we have to look at things objectively and critically, so that we open a pathway and deal with it in a very professional manner, and a manner that is going to help us have solutions to move forward. Now, I want to say that communication is key, and that has not been going on very well. But being the chair of the National Coordination Mechanism, I am always asserting my rights to say meetings are supposed to be. I'm not seeing the meetings. I know there are other technical groups that are supposed to be working together, like the immigration is the focal person. Then you have to, over there we had Tangara before, and now we have, am I right? At the Mofa. It's Kamara. Now they all have their focal persons. And at the end of the day, we agree on a modus operandi, where I think I have said that every quarter we have to sit down. I want all the sectors to come so that we look at the progress that is going on. Letters are written, they are copied to me, but they pass through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. You understand? There are challenges, of course. Sometimes there are delays, sometimes we don't get it until we come to the meeting and we said, we discussed the matters, and I said, I don't have a copy of it. You see, it is not the fault of the ministers, but it's the way the management is operationalizing some of the communication issues, and we have to do it. It's a problem, and we will look at it. Now, when it comes to the issue of the cooperation, like the Minister for Foreign Affairs said, you know, when you deal with diplomacy, you look at bilateral relationships or multilateral relationships, There are certain countries that have their political intrigues within the country and have their bodies who are very powerful, but not in the hands of affairs. And because they are not in the hands of affairs, they will have the will and the guts to say this is what needs to be done. But when the chips are down, it has to go through the right channel. And that is what happened with the case of the batch and voting there. It was good that you traveled, you went, and these were very good deals according to your report, what I have had. Because we have to be responsible to take our responsibility and duty, despite the fact that the political economy, the global political economy, is determining a lot of issues that we have to recognize and we cannot be left behind. If we go and there is this opportunity that the National Assembly members have gone and they have come, I think the witnesses there is that I did not see that report. It was not reported to me, and it was not discussed at the national coordination mechanism level. We are not aware of that. Those who went also did not talk about it. I want to register that very clearly. If they had done, I am always running after what they call low-hanging fruits. Anything that comes to the Gambia and is something that will take us one step ahead, I go after it, irrespective of where it is coming from. Now that did not happen. Now that this has come to this stage and you have gone and come, and there were a lot of things that have happened, we should have followed it. If those who have gone have communicated and made a report and brought it there, we will incorporate it into whatever strategy we have. I want to accept that weakness. And I want to tell you that we are going to address that, now that I know. Number two, the issue you raised is very specific, and I think we have to deal with it correctly and directly. There was the communication which I asked, because I was going to see you, because we have postponed this meeting twice or 3 times. This is the 3rd time we are coming, or 4th time. And I said we must be there to go and deal with this, because it's a very sensitive matter. It's important and it has ramifications for our image internationally and even in the country. We have to go. Today I am happy that all of us are here. We are here to deal with it in a very professional way. I'm not blaming anybody. In fact, I'm ready to take all the blame and to deal with it. You understand? Now, I requested from one of my staff to say, please make sure that you get me information from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Because these letters, whatever communication happens, it is the window and the channel by which everything is going and coming. If I don't have it, please go and check. And this is what I have with regards to that. I prepared myself. Gambians for the deportation in Germany specific. I don't know whether it belongs to them or whoever, because it was not discussed. And I don't know, but I took time to go and dig it out to know what the situation is. It says, 1, 16,000 Gambians registered for asylum in Germany and 4,000 were rejected who are currently facing potential deportation. The proposed solution, according to the document, is considering the substantial number of Gambian migrants in Germany, particularly in Baden-Württemberg, given that most of them are irregular in the sense that they do not fulfill the legal requirements to stay in Germany, and also given the socio-economic and political upheaval their deportation would engender in the Gambia, the Gambia could propose the following action plan to be jointly implemented with Germany. However, the current migration agreements binding the Gambia and Germany is through the EU bloc, like was said by the minister. In considering, he also said, in considering the undermentioned recommendations, it would only be subsumed under the operational conclusion on return modalities of the EU-Gambia migration agreement that is being reviewed. 1. The Gambia to accept to receive all of its citizens who have been convicted by German courts for having committed a serious crime to a sentence of imprisonment now and in the future, and that the Gambia will be giving support to funds and funds to prepare the grounds for their reception and rehabilitation. That was one of the arguments. 2. That all other Gambian citizens who have been identified and who are officially resident in Germany at the time of this agreement will be offered an opportunity to be trained, educated, and to work for at least the next 5 years or until they choose to return voluntarily. 3. That the Gambia will accept to receive without delay all its citizens who will arrive in Germany after the date of this agreement and who have no right to remain there. It will also make a declaration that henceforth there should be no fresh irregular migration of Gambians to Germany. 4. The Gambia to invite Germany to upgrade its diplomatic presence in the Gambia, including offering Schengen visa for Gambian citizens. 5. That Germany will increase the number of Gambian citizens to arrive legally in Germany with scholarships for studies and set up vocational and language training facilities in the Gambia to help motivate Gambians meet the requirements for legal work migration in Germany according to German's skilled workers immigration law. 6. Germany to facilitate for Gambian seasonal workers, especially those who work in the agricultural sector, work for a period of 6 months or so and return to the Gambia and vice versa. 7. Germany to upgrade the current development cooperations with the Gambia to the level of a private country and would encourage German investors to invest into the foreign productive sectors of the Gambian economy. A. Agriculture, in terms of creating value addition enterprise in view of job creation.
Your
B.
Excellency, I'm not stopping you, but you are exactly reading from the document.
This is just received yesterday when I was going to come today, and I did my homework and I said it was not communicated. That's why I said communication is the issue. Because when I read this document and I said, what a great document that is this, it was not brought to our attention, we did not see it. So when people travel, they come back. We in the Office of the Vice President, what we do is, once you go, you are under obligation to come up with a report and give us the report. So that, and any report that comes, because I am very curious and I want to engage constructively, I read that report. Whoever travels to come, I did not receive the report of the travel to Gutenberg. I did not see it and it was not disclosed to us. I requested for it and it was fished out from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. That's what I want to see. Now, the problem is communication. I am not blaming anybody, but now that these things are put in place, if it has been brought to the National Coordination Mechanism attention, if that was here, by now we would have done, because he has given a very good report on that. 25 parties they came. When they came, they were all successfully integrated with their families. The other 20 that was there, we don't know. So those who travel, the purpose of having a coordination mechanism is to bring the actors, because various sectors have their own responsibility. So for proper accountability and transparency, the Office of the Vice President is coordinating these things so that we get to hear from all of them and come up with a synopsis that will give us a path of action to move forward. That did not happen. And I want to take blame and responsibility for that. There is no need to pull and push. The purpose is you are calling us and this is in the right direction, and I appreciate it, for us to speak to each other and make sure that we move this process forward. This is one of the most beautiful documents regarding migration and the modalities that needs to be done. But it didn't reach us. And I want to be very honest and transparent in this process. It's not about the government, it's about the Gambia and what we should do as a responsible in what we are doing.
Mr. Chair, with due respect to our Excellency the Vice President, we are not here to blame or to accept blame or anything. But MOVE is here. And they've been using MOVE. I think I will let you know.
No, I personally gave.
And then I want you to bring all the evidence that these documents were sent to them.
In fact, I personally gave the document to the then Deputy Permanent Secretary. I think Mr. Trawale. Yes, he came to my office. I can't believe what he's doing.
No, I want you to bring all the evidence.
I can do that. And
I'm not cutting you short.
Yes.
I am, as I said earlier, I am not here to blame. We are here to work.
For the sake of clarification, I want you to bring all the evidence.
I am not accusing anybody. What I am saying is that I made efforts to get this, and indeed, yesterday when I requested for this information, it was the deputy who gave it to me. It's only yesterday, before closing time, that I got it. Now, I'm not blaming anybody. What it requires, when this happens, you can even summon me and say, look, we have come back, can we have a national coordination mechanism meeting? So that you tell us, because it was attended by very high power, the National Assembly members who have gone. You have done your bit because you've gone to see the president. You have spoken to the president, and the team that you brought together are the right people to be there. The Minister for Foreign Affairs is there, the Minister General is there, but it did not filter down to me. And if it did not filter down to me and did not filter to the national coordination mechanism, there is nothing, I cannot call a meeting to say, let us discuss this. Wallahi tallahi. If this was brought to my notice, immediately you come, or you give it to me, even informally, I will do something out of it. Because I am very much committed to the issue of migration. So I want to appeal. Let us not keep on pushing and pattern. What I want to appeal, I beg you.
That was what I was going to put.
Yes, let us
please
go back.
Go and settle that.
And work it out
in
and
your
come back.
office there. But let's deal with the matter here.
Yes.
Presented on the agenda. Honorable Minister of Interior.
Yes,
Hello. We can discuss at our level.
Yes.
But there's a need for the parliamentarians to know where the lapses are, and you can advise us on that. Okay. Yes. Because if this particular document is distributed and discussed, we will not have been in the problem of every day sitting down, the technical team coming up every day to the office of the Vice President to discuss on the repatriation.
If we have seen it.
I'm not disputing the fact that it could have been distributed. But why is it that it has never been discussed? On almost every month or every two weeks, the task force is busy.
Yeah. I make sure that
and the Vice is chairing that task force.
Yes.
And this, with all the struggle that we are discussing in respect of deportation, this matter was never discussed. And we all know, we are all aware that Germany is the one bringing the largest number. So why is it that it's not all our discussion is centered on Germany? So if this document was discussed, we would not have been in the situation that we are today.
The strategy is very clear. No. I'm not blaming anybody, but I want to say, Mr. Chair, Honorable Chair, what I want to say here is that it is very clear that the problematic is on our side. I want to acknowledge that. The problematic is on our side, and we have to go and do our homework and make sure that we communicate. We come up with a clear plan of action. If you would agree with me, come up with a very clear plan of action on how to deal with this and start engagement through the relevant institutions. The Minister of Interior is responsible for deportees, but it cannot do anything if the Minister of Foreign Affairs does not communicate the information and act. So they have to work in synergy with all the other relevant institutions. So I am appealing, now that this is clear, because I didn't tell them I have this. Yesterday, it was before closing time I got it. Because I don't face any panel without preparing myself. I don't do that. So I got it, and I got some more information. So all I want to say is I am appealing that this is today we are here, the ministers are here, it's a very rare occasion. We will go back. I will call immediately, next week, a national coordination mechanism meeting. And in that process, you will be invited in that meeting, because we are trying to prepare the path of the migration compact, which will be presented in May. I want you to be there. So these are the issues that we are going to deal with. But to make it very clear that what the Minister of Foreign Affairs says in terms of dealing with other entities that are not within the, that deals with nation states, it has to go through the right channel, and that was not also there. And we have to accept so that we understand how we engage bilaterally and multilaterally.
Exactly.
Yes.
Well,
yes, thank you very much, Your Excellency Vice President, Honorable Ministers. I think the lapses are now identified, and then I think we also appreciate our concern. What we need now is action. We are really concerned about the plight of these Gambians who are there, and then action needs to be done. Now you have agreed to gather your act. You would want action, as the Vice President said, and the soonest the better.
Yes.
Let us come with the President as a country, but let us agree. I think the report spelled it out very clearly.
Yes.
Those that they consider, and it's good to also distinguish the crimes, the misdemeanors and the crimes that are a menace to society. We can accept those back. But for those the others who are there, it's better we have arrangements that they can be kept there, trained. If they are really interested in our democracy, our fledgling democracy, to support our process here, to make sure that there is stability in our country, there is peace, to promote democracy, it's better that they support those Gambians who are already there. Because in 2018, I personally undertook a tour to Europe And when I came back, I reported to the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs what I did. I went to 7 countries. And basically it was to look at the situation of the migrants who are there. I've been to Milan, to Germany, Italy, in Milan. It was horrible. Over 100 young people sleeping in the streets, those harsh weather conditions. And the position that I was promoting, in fact that's what is reflected in the report, that those Gambians who are there, let them be trained. Let them be trained, acquire skills, and I'm telling you, if they are trained and they acquire these skills, they will not be returned, because they will not allow them to be returned. They will find preoccupation for them. I think this is the position. This is the language that both of us are speaking, the legislature and the executive, that let us engage. So it's better that we engage. So the sooner, the better. Yes, the sooner the better.
I'm assuring you that I will do my best with the team now that we are here and together. I want you to, what I want to say here is that let some of our ministers will feel that we are against them. I'm against them. I am not against anybody. We are dealing with matters that we are accountable for, and we must take our responsibility. The problem we are facing is communication gap. If we are communicating and being transparent with what we are doing, it will be easy. And I am ready to take the blame. I will take the blame. Give me the time, soonest we get back to it.
Okay.
But before
I just want a little clarification. We are here as a government. It's a team. Not that one is blamed or you consider of being blamed. That's not a problem. But I want, for the sake of clarity, for us to know, to identify the lapses, the gaps. But for certain, I have trust and confidence in my team that they, because I know these were very meticulous young men, and they've been doing so good. I want you to prepare all the documents, everything, and share it with the National Assembly and with the Office of the Vice President. And certainly, you had meetings. You must have taken minutes.
Yes.
The minutes also will clarify everything.
And sir, if I may say something, Your Excellency, Honorable Sila made a very salient point, and that is what is the next step to this problem. I remember in Germany, we promised that government will field a high-powered delegation to Germany to engage the German government. When the German Minister for International Cooperation visited the Gambia, this was like 2 or 3 months ago, 4 months ago, October. He had audience with His Excellency the President, and we assured him at that level that sometime this year we will field a high-powered government delegation to go to Germany to discuss issues like this. And I remember exactly what he said. And what he said was that will be highly appreciated by us Germans, and I am sure it will be very, very positive. So my deduction is, once we send a high-powered government delegation to Germany to engage them, none of these issues will
I agree with that, but before that, identify the lapses so that we do not commit the same mistake. So make sure that you prepare all the documents, share it with the National Assembly and with the Office of the
Yes, what I want to do is I really appreciate what he said. It's important because it's lack of access to this information. That's why we are having differences in opinion. If I had access to this today, this would have been the basis by which we're going to discuss. I got it just yesterday. I've made it very clear. Now, the second thing I wanted to say here is that the visit has been proposed a long time ago when it came to the issue of Batten-Württemberg. And I was told, Minister of Foreign Affairs is here, he said we cannot do it with the Württemberg directly, but we have to go. And that was right. So what he is saying, apart from the information, the lapses also are when people come and want to do certain things and it's not in line with international diplomacy ethics, we cannot accept it. Because as a country, we must be seen to embrace international best practices and standards. He told it, and they have even personally been calling me, when are you people going to make? I said that is in the hands of the Minister of Foreign Affairs. If it is me who is coming, it has to go through the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs will advise. I have said that to them. And then we will constitute the team that is going. But it cannot be like, and what he said it, and I did my research, he was right. That's what I want to say. First, the first practical thing is bring all the documentation that is supposed to be, in my view, which will be brought to the national coordinating mechanism, and then follow diligently on the other correspondences with regards to the processes that are needed for us to fill in that type of delegation that will be comprehensive. If you agree with me, Honorable Chair, I want to just appeal that you allow us to go back and do our homework, and I get back to you soon.
No, of course, we are agreeable to that, because we want something positive to happen. And I don't want to talk, because if I talk, that's going to be an explosion. Because the amount, no, I'm telling you seriously, the amount of work I've done in this matter, if I talk, it will be an explosion. Big explosion. But I leave you to go, and then you come back. But please know that what we are doing is to help you address an issue.
Absolutely.
I don't want to blow the trumpet of the committee, but the work we have done in Germany, did that was right. If there was no COVID, I think COVID was what has hindered the progress. Because otherwise you would have gone there.
Yes.
If you had not gone, the president would have gone there, or you would have gone there. That was the arrangement. But COVID came, and there was no travel. But now, you must do something. The Germans are prepared to help. This document you refer to EU-based document. It is not hostile to bilateral negotiation. There is a clause in it.
Excellent.
So why can't we have a problem with Germany? And I'm telling you, I don't want to blow our trumpet, but because of what had happened in Germany, what we did in Germany, Italians want us to go there, the Spaniards want us to go there, the Swedes just 2 days ago, they are also wanting us to do exactly the same thing for this problem to be solved, and you can't.
They came to my office, and we agreed on that.
Anyway, come on, you want to say something?
Yeah, I don't want to repeat anyone. It's just to reinforce what the can said. I mean, this is a national problem. I keep on telling people, let us not politicize the situation. You are either affected directly or indirectly. I have 2 of my blood brothers in Germany undocumented. In fact, when they call, I keep on telling them, come back. As we speak, they keep on calling that they don't have documents. So let us, the willingness is there on the side of Germany to maintain this peace. So what is the way forward? Let's work together and then make sure that the problem is solved, and then this thing is thing of the partner. Because, I mean, being the elected representative of the people, they keep on blaming us, they keep on asking us, you are not doing A and B, you all know the country. The social media, is there anything that happened? They keep on reporting, and most of the time, on a negative basis, they report. So let's do something to make sure that the problem is amicably solved.
I want to inform you that there is a very highly organized Gambian in Germany who are trusted by the German government. They work hand in hand with Germany. But each time there is a problem, they refer to this organization. It's there. They are there. I think the foreign minister must have met them, and we met them, and Mr. Boo was there when we met them. And they are still working. So it's really not difficult. Anyway, we will allow you to go back, but please don't take another, I don't know how long, because this is since 2020.
No. It's a matter of days or weeks. Please, that is too long.
Okay.
The way I am feeling, you don't know. The way I am feeling.
Okay.
After the independence celebration, wallahi, you will run away from me.
Me? Okay. All right. I will have to run away from you. Okay.
We do our best.